The last notes of happy birthday had barely faded when my best friend Sophia raised her voice over the cheerful chatter of my party. She made a sudden announcement, her tone carrying a theatrical flourish. As a special token of his sincerity, she declared, our school's most sought-after guy, Leo, has prepared a very special surprise for Clara, the Vance family's ancestral silver bracelet. The word ancestral sent a ripple of excitement through my friends, and they immediately erupted into cheers and applause. I felt a surge of excitement as well, but it was a cold, sharp feeling, entirely different from the naive happiness I'd felt in my past life. My eyes fixed on the silver bracelet he held, which seemed to emit a strange, unsettling light in the dim party atmosphere. I clenched my fists at my sides, the texture of my dress rough against my knuckles, a stark, physical confirmation that this was real, that I had been reborn. Clara, let me put it on for you, my boyfriend Leo said, his voice smooth and warm. He seemed completely oblivious to the sudden change in my demeanor, his smile as charming as ever. Buoyed by the encouraging shouts from our friends, he stepped forward, his hand reaching for mine to fasten the silver bracelet around my wrist. The memory of what he and Sophia had orchestrated in my past life flooded my mind. A cold torrent of betrayal and pain. Without a second thought, I yanked my hand back. The sudden movement sent a nearby wine glass tumbling from the table, and it shattered on the floor with a loud clang. The lively room fell instantly silent. Leo stared at me, his expression shifting from affection to suspicion. "What's wrong, honey?" he asked, his voice low. My best friend, who had been live streaming the party on her phone, immediately swung the camera's lens to focus directly on my face. Her voice, when she spoke, was a carefully crafted mix of saccharine concern, thinly veiled jealousy, and a hint of disdain. "Clara, Leo is so handsome and wonderful, and for some reason he chose to be with you. Are you saying his gift isn't good enough for you?" In my previous life, I had only ever suspected that Sophia had a simple crush on Leo. I was too trusting to imagine that they were already secretly working together. This party, which was supposed to be a celebration of my birthday, was in reality a carefully constructed trap they had set for me. If I had accepted the gift, the narrative she was broadcasting to the world would have been that I was a materialistic gold digger, and the online vitriol would have been swift and merciless. And once I had put on the bracelet and made the wish they wanted, the subsequent chain of events would have systematically stripped me of my family's wealth, my physical health, and my youth. Thinking about the long, painful road they had sent me down before, a strange sense of playfulness washed over me. I turned to Sophia and offered her a small, placid smile. "Of course not," I said, my voice even. "I was just thinking that we've only been dating for a month. For him to give me a family heirloom already feels a bit overwhelming. It's a very serious gesture." Hearing this explanation, Sophia's face contorted with a jealousy so potent her eyes seemed to darken. Leo, on the other hand, let out a visible sigh of relief. He stepped closer again, his expression softening into one of gentle concern. "Honey, I know you've always been self-conscious about your weight, but I've told you so many times that I like you for who you are, not for how you look. I thought long and hard about what to give you, and I chose this silver bracelet. It might not look like much, but it has a very deep and significant meaning." He paused, his gaze becoming cautious as he finished his speech. Unless you really do think, like Sophia said, that the gift is cheap." It was an almost identical replay of my past life. I had instinctively recoiled from this bracelet and its eerie aura back then, too. But with Sophia's aggressive questioning on one side and Leo's practiced emotional manipulation on the other, I had felt cornered and pressured into accepting it. This time, however, with the full attention of the room on me, I felt a cold sneer form on my lips. Just as I had before, I reached out and quickly took the bracelet from his hand. The difference was that this time, as they both watched with relieved expressions, I didn't move to put it on my own wrist. Instead, I spun around to face Sophia and, in one swift motion, fastened it onto her arm. "Ah, why did you put that on me?" Sophia shrieked, her voice high and panicked. She reacted as if I had touched her with something terrifying and lethal. Her entire body went rigid, and she began frantically clawing at the bracelet, trying to pull it off her wrist. Even in her panic, she didn't forget to hurl insults at me. "You fat pig! How dare you put this creepy thing on me? Are you trying to get me killed? I sneered inwardly. So it's only when the blade is pointed at your own throat that you finally feel the fear. In my previous life, even after I was left paralyzed, Sophia seemed to genuinely believe I had just been in a terrible car accident, which told me that Leo had never fully trusted her with the whole truth. She knew, however, that this bracelet could steal a person's good fortune, yet she still actively helped Leo in his plan to harm me. Now, with just this small scare, she was already pale as a ghost. She had even forgotten in her terror that the bracelet's curse would only activate after a wish was fulfilled. I slowly took a moment to admire the green jade bracelet on my own left wrist, a gift from my father, before looking at the even more beautiful and clear white jade bracelet on my right. "Don't you always complain that your wrist feels empty?" I asked her, my voice deceptively sweet. "You've asked to borrow my bracelets for a few days so many times. I'm just doing you a favor today, returning the kindness you've shown me." "Besides," I continued, my tone hardening slightly, "when you use my expensive skincare products without asking or rifle through my purse when you think I'm not looking, do you ever ask for my permission? What was it you always used to say? Good friends shouldn't have secrets or keep things from each other." Before, my family and Sophia's were on a similar financial footing. But a few years ago, our property was targeted for demolition and redevelopment, and my family received a compensation package in the tens of millions. My father then skillfully invested that money into a new business and turned it into a few hundred million. After that, Sophia's attitude towards me began to change. I had dismissed it as simple, mean-spirited jealousy at the time, but I never imagined that her envy ran so deep that she would conspire to see me dead. Sophia was so frightened that she seemed to lose all sense of reason. She slammed her hand down on the table, trying to break the bracelet. "Clara, don't you dare slander me. I'm not a freeloader who leeches off her friends like you. I'm an independent modern woman." Leo, having recovered from his shock, rushed over to her side, his face a mask of anger. "Clara, what do you think you're doing?" he snapped. He quickly scooped the bracelet up from the table where Sophia had thrown it and began examining it meticulously for any damage. Seeing that it was unharmed, he turned back to me and warned me with a stern voice, "I know you and Sophia have a close relationship, but if you go around giving my things away without my permission, I'm going to get very angry." Back then, I never understood that the real reason a popular guy like Leo was interested in an overweight girl like me was because he had discovered my family was incredibly wealthy. Compared to me, Sophia, who came from a family with average means, was never his primary target. I used to be terrified of making Leo angry. Now, seeing me just stare at him without saying a word, he seemed to think he had me under his control again, and a triumphant look settled on his face. He took my hand and firmly put the bracelet on my wrist. Then he gave me a mischievous smile. "Honey, you haven't made your birthday wish yet. You should hurry up and wish to win $100 million in the lottery. Our family's silver bracelet is a real magnet for treasure." I scoffed internally but played along, pretending to clasp my hands together and make a wish. The moment I opened my eyes, even before I could blow out the candles on my cake, Leo grabbed my shoulders with both hands, his grip tight and his voice urgent. "Well, honey, did you wish to win $100 million? I let out a small giggle. "Of course not. Why would I only wish for $100 million on my birthday?" Leo was clearly taken aback that I hadn't followed his suggestion. He froze for a full 3 seconds, and then he slammed his fist on the table with incredible force. He shot up from his chair and roared at me, his voice nearly a scream. "Clara, you are such a stupid, worthless idiot. Do you have any idea what you just threw away?" His sudden, violent outburst stunned everyone in the room into silence. "Leo, are you insane? What are you screaming about?" someone asked. Seeing how agitated he was, I calmly leaned forward and slowly blew out all my birthday candles. I didn't just smile at him, I gave him a playful wink. "Sweetheart, if your family's silver bracelet can really attract wealth, why would $100 million be enough? Obviously, I wish to win $1 billion. The words hung in the air. Billion?" Leo stammered, his face a canvas of rapidly shifting emotions. The raw anger drained away, replaced first by stunned surprise, and then finally by an expression of overwhelming greed and immense joy. Hearing the murmurs of criticism from our friends still directed at him, Leo seemed to remember himself. He quickly sat back down and began apologizing profusely. Honey, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I just got way too excited. Please don't take what I said to heart. Of course, I wouldn't take it to heart. His apology meant nothing to me. What I wanted was his life. After my birthday party ended, I sought out a woman I remembered from my past life, finding her in a dirty alley behind a dumpster. Her lower body had been amputated, and she was covered in sores and filth. She looked up at me with desperate, pleading eyes. Can you spare $1 or just a little food? She begged. A slow smile spread across my lips. I can give you something much better than that, I said softly. I can give you a chance at a new life. Do you want it? Once that grim task was completed, the first thing I did was rush home to find my father. He was clearly surprised to see me walk through the door. Isn't today a work day? What are you doing back here? After my father had received the large government payout for our old property, he had leased a massive orchard in our hometown to start a fruit business. In my previous life, Sophia's father, Mr. Rossi, had been put in charge of purchasing the pesticides needed for pest control. Back then, when I tried to warn my family, everyone thought I was crazy. But my dad just waved his hand and said he would always support me. But just when I thought that, even without my health or youth, I could at least help my father manage the orchard, something terrible happened. The day after I returned home, all the young fruit saplings in the orchard suddenly died. It turned out that Mr. Rossi had been taking kickbacks and had purchased counterfeit, ineffective pesticides. Not only that, he had deliberately spread malicious rumors to sabotage my family's business, also that a rival orchard he was secretly partnered with could dominate the local market. The financial blow was catastrophic. My father's hair turned gray almost overnight. Hounded by his workers demanding pay and the loan companies demanding repayment, he was driven to take his own life. Remembering that horror, I quickly urged my father to have the company's accounts thoroughly audited. I also found a trusted third party to discreetly test the quality of the pesticides Mr. Rossi had purchased. Additionally, my father and I stayed up for an entire night, personally walking through the vast orchard, checking the growth and health of every single fruit sapling. 3 busy, sleepless days passed. Fortunately, we had caught it all just in time. Although Mr. Rossi had a contract prepared, it was still sitting on my father's desk, awaiting his final signature. When my father saw the results of the audit and the pesticide analysis, he broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately went to the police. And I, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, finally had a peaceful night's sleep. When I woke up, my phone was buzzing with dozens of missed calls and a mountain of text messages from Leo. Honey, did you buy a lottery ticket on the night of your birthday? If you won, you have to tell me right away. Honey, I spent the last few days looking at villas in the city. Which one of these do you think looks more impressive? Honey, this Tesla is pretty nice. What do you think? Looking at the endless stream of photos of mansions and luxury cars he had sent, I raised my eyebrows. I stared at his smiling profile picture with the kind of pity one reserves for a fool. I decided to reply. Are you sure this Tesla costs over $1 million? He replied almost instantly. Yes, it's only the mid-range model, but it's good enough for now. He quickly followed up with photos of the car's official documentation. Honey, when you buy the car, make sure you put it under my name. Driving can be dangerous, you know. I should be the one to take on that risk for you. I had to suppress a wave of nausea. Your current monthly salary is 5,000 ween. After you pay for gas, you probably don't even have enough to support yourself, do you? Leo shamelessly replied, But I have you now, don't I? Honey, when you win $1 billion, will our family really be short on this little bit of money? Besides, Sophia told me your dad bought you a BMW that cost 500,000 yuan. I'm a man. I can't be seen driving a car that's cheaper than my girlfriend's, can I? I was genuinely shocked by his complete lack of shame. Why don't you ask your own father to buy it for you? The indicator on the other end showed that he was typing for a long time. 3 full minutes passed before his reply came through. He was clearly upset. Honey, I have to say, was it easy for my parents to raise me? How can I still rely on them at my age? But you're different. You're an only child. All of your dad's money is going to be yours in the future anyway. How about we just have our dad prepare our wedding home for us in advance? After sending that, he found the photo of the first villa he had sent me. I think this one is pretty good. It's not that expensive, only 100 million yuan. You can just put my name on the title deed. Otherwise, it will be a big hassle to inspect the house and get the keys later. I'd feel terrible if you had to do all that work. I couldn't stop myself from rolling my eyes. He really was something else. I stopped replying to Leo's messages after that. But he didn't give up. He started buying various lottery tickets online, using my name and personal information. He also called me constantly, reminding me to watch the lottery drawings on time. Perhaps he sensed my unhappiness because he started apologizing to me again. Honey, I just want to have a home with you so badly. I want to marry you as soon as possible. If you're worried about putting my name on the house and car titles, you can just put all the money in your own bank account first. Remember, put it in an account that's under your name. It's always good for a girl to have more savings, right, honey? In my past life, I hadn't gone home right after my birthday, so I had never seen this side of Leo. Now, he was relentlessly encouraging me to fantasize about the money, laying the groundwork for him to acquire luxury cars and chase other women. Of course, I had no intention of letting him get his way. I simply quit my job, went home, and bought a set of home exercise equipment. I started working out every single day. In addition to that, I created an online account and started helping my dad sell the fruit from our orchard directly to consumers. In my past life, the reason I had been so easily deceived by Leo was not just because he and Sophia were colluding against me, but more importantly, because my own lack of self-confidence had left me blind. I was so desperate for love that I allowed a scoundrel to lead me by the nose. Now that fate had given me a chance to start over, I was determined to improve myself from the inside out. And so, just as I had successfully lost the first 10 pounds, I got a frantic call from Leo in the middle of the night. I had my phone on sleep mode, so I ignored it. The next morning, just as the sun was rising, Sophia, who must have driven over 100 kilometers to get here, showed up at my house and began hammering on the door. Clara, why did you quit your job without saying anything? Don't you know the Vance family is in serious trouble? Leo is going crazy trying to find you. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and let out a long, lazy yawn. His family is in trouble, so why is he looking for me? I'm not his mother. Sophia was momentarily speechless. She just pointed her finger at me, stammering, You, for a long moment. Just then, Leo's call came through again. Under Sophia's fierce, expectant gaze, I felt I had no choice but to answer. Leo's voice was strained with anxiety. Clara, where are you? Did you know my sister Isabelle's condition has gotten worse? And I can't find you anywhere. I'm going out of my mind. The doctor said her leg has suddenly started to rot and grow hair for some unknown reason. She needs an amputation, and the surgery costs 200,000 yuan. Clara, my sister, and I really need you. Can you please come to the hospital? If this had been the past, I might have dropped everything and rushed over immediately. But now, I slowly took a sip of water before I answered. Your sister's condition has worsened? Then you should find a doctor. Why are you calling me? Besides, that's your sister. She has no relationship with me. Are you seriously expecting me to pay 200,000 yuan for her surgery? He clearly didn't expect me to be so blunt. Leo was choked into silence, but Sophia, the great defender of true love, couldn't stand it anymore. She suddenly lunged forward and snatched the phone from my hand. Clara, your future sister-in-law is sick, and you're just standing here making sarcastic remarks? Do you have any conscience at all? I don't care what you say. I'm taking you to the hospital today. Fine by me. I had been planning to go and see the results of what had happened to Leo's sister, Isabelle, anyway. Since the opportunity presented itself, I might as well use it to see the first tangible outcome of my plan. When we arrived at the hospital, Isabelle was just being wheeled out of the operating room, her face pale and drawn. The first thing she did when she saw me was roll her eyes. Then her gaze darted behind me, and when she confirmed that I had come alone and was empty-handed, her expression soured. You really did just show up by yourself, huh? She said, her voice sharp and dripping with sarcasm. Some people not only refuse to help those in need, but they don't even bother to bring a gift when they visit a patient. What a shameless cheapskate. The reason Leo and I had gotten together in the first place was because I had happened to find Isabelle collapsed on the street, having fainted in her wheelchair. At the time, I had immediately called for an ambulance and stayed with her at the hospital until she was stable. I had even paid the 10,001 fee for her initial hospitalization. But my act of kindness had not earned me any gratitude from Isabelle. On the contrary, in my past life, after my family's business had collapsed and I suffered my own major setback, I called Leo dozens of times but couldn't reach him. Desperate, I finally found Isabelle and begged her, pleading with her on the basis of me having saved her life, to just tell me where Leo was. But she repaid my kindness with unimaginable malice. She sicked her little chihuahua on me. I can still see it clearly. Me, sitting helplessly in a wheelchair, waving my hands frantically, but unable to stop the small dog as it bit my numb, paralyzed legs over and over again. I had cried out in despair. Isabelle, meanwhile, just stood off to the side, laughing hysterically. That's so funny. Ha 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 ha, Clara, isn't this feeling of utter helplessness just wonderful? You saved me back then, didn't you? You were probably hoping I'd be eternally grateful to you. Well, how about this? Do you like this way of me showing my gratitude? Ignoring the searing pain in my hand, I had desperately managed to grab the chihuahua by the throat and screamed fiercely at her, Isabelle, if I hadn't called for help in time that day, the doctor said you would have had your leg amputated. How can you treat me like this? Aren't you afraid of retribution? Isabelle just kicked the yelping dog away, muttering, useless thing. Afterward, she stood over me, her arms crossed, and looked down at me with contempt. Retribution. That was our family's ancestral silver bracelet. Once its magic takes effect, it can't be reversed. You want revenge on me? You want me to be paralyzed and have my leg amputated? Nope, nope, nope. You'll have to wait until your next life for that. She then made a childish face at me, her expression full of arrogance and defiance. Thinking of this as I looked at Isabelle's sharp, mean-spirited face in the hospital bed, I deliberately turned my body sideways. I wanted her to get a good, clear view of my long, firm, and healthy legs, toned from my recent workouts. Oh, I am so sorry, I said, my voice dripping with false sympathy. All my money was used to buy exercise equipment? Isabelle, it's probably a good thing you had your leg amputated. At least now you can save a lot of money on fitness, right? Isabelle's face turned purple with rage. She started screaming at Leo. Brother, why are her legs fine? Why aren't her legs amputated? Didn't you say the curse would take effect on her? I feigned confusion, turning to stare at Leo with wide, innocent eyes. Curse? What curse are you talking about? Leo began to panic. He quickly told a nearby caretaker to wheel Isabelle away and then immediately started trying to smooth things over with me. Honey, my sister is just saying crazy things because she can't handle the stress of the amputation. I mean, the doctor said before that her leg had a good chance of making a full recovery, but who could have known it would just start to grow hair and rot, and get so bad that it had to be removed? After he finished his explanation, he looked me up and down, his gaze analytical. Honey, you look a little different. I took a deep breath, feigning weariness. Yeah, I haven't been feeling well. For some reason, my hair seems to be getting whiter, and my whole body just feels weak all the time. That's why I decided to start working out. As soon as I said that, the doubt on Leo's face vanished, replaced by an unmistakable glee. He was so happy he could barely keep his mouth closed. His voice was urgent. You're serious? I reached up and took off the wig I was wearing, revealing the salt and pepper gray hair I had dyed just a few days prior for this very performance. Leo blurted out, That's great! What about the lottery tickets? Realizing how inappropriate his reaction was, he quickly cleared his throat and tried to backtrack. Honey, I mean, it's really great that you started working out for your health. So what about the lottery tickets? How much did you win? I took out my phone and opened a pre-prepared app showing a fake lottery result. See? 10,000 yuan? What? Only 10,000 yuan? Leo thought his eyes were deceiving him. He snatched my phone out of my hand and began frantically searching for the official winning numbers for the recent draws. After a full half hour of this, his voice was tinged with the verge of tears. I spent more than 10,000 yuan of my own money buying all these lottery tickets for you. After saying that, he looked at me again, a new suspicion dawning. Clara, did you really wish to win 1 billion yuan that night? I hadn't actually made any wish at all that night, but that wasn't going to stop me from telling a little white lie now. Of course I did. It's just a matter of moving your lips, isn't it? Who can't daydream a little? Leo glanced at my gray wig, and he seemed to find some small comfort in it. Never mind. I remember there's still one lottery ticket left, and the draw for that one is in 2 days. Maybe the billion is in that one. After saying this, he carefully put the remaining lottery ticket away in his wallet. He looked at me, his eyes shining as if I were his personal savior. Honey, when you win that billion, I'll have my luxury cars and villas and my sister's leg. Well, we'll be able to get her the best care. I just sneered in my heart. I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint you, Leo. Since I had quit my last job so abruptly, I made a special trip back to my old friend's company the next day to properly handle all the resignation procedures. While I was riding the elevator up, I happened to see a post on a social media forum asking for help. The post read, "This suddenly grew today. Does anyone know what this is?" The photo attached showed several ugly, wrinkled scars on a young man's chest. I recognized the posting style immediately. It was Leo's alternate anonymous account. It looked like after the old beggar and Isabelle had effectively exchanged health, the curse was now going to start preying on Leo's youth. Someone had already replied in the comments below, "This looks like signs of premature aging. Did you do something really bad recently, OP?" The help-seeking post was deleted almost as soon as I saw it. Within minutes, I received a new message from Leo. "Honey, what about the car and the house I told you about last time? Have you looked into them any further? I heard you're going back to your old company to do some paperwork today, so I'm waiting for you downstairs." It was a very hot and sunny day. He had deliberately chosen the sunniest, most visible spot to stand while he posted a picture to his social media feed. The caption read, "Wife is busy working hard, I'm busy missing her." Using the birthday party as an excuse, he had managed to add a lot of my friends and acquaintances to his social circle. Soon, his post was flooded with likes and comments. "He's such a good man. His girlfriend is so lucky," I sneered. In the past, whenever I asked him to pick me up from work, he would always say I was too overweight and embarrassing, and he would make up excuses not to come. Now that I had lost some weight and, in his eyes, was about to bring him $1 billion, he was eager to put on this public display. He wanted to completely drain me of my money and, ultimately, my life. Just as I was thinking about how to get him to take the next piece of bait, a unique reply popped up in his comment section. "On such a hot day, you're making your boyfriend wait for you downstairs in the sun? Clara, how could you be so inconsiderate?" When I saw this, I thought, oh boy, isn't this Sophia? The same friend who dragged me to the hospital yesterday, only to abandon me there after receiving a single phone call? This was almost too easy. The fish was practically jumping into the boat on its own. I was just in the middle of composing a message to her when a text from her came in, full of furious urgency. "Clara, I think your whole family's conscience must have been eaten by dogs. My dad works hard and faithfully for your family's business, and your dad actually had the nerve to accuse my dad of embezzlement? And Leo is so good to you, yet you won't even buy him a cup of coffee while he waits? Doesn't your conscience or your dad's hurt at all?" In my past life, after my family went bankrupt, Sophia was suddenly sporting designer bags and new clothes. I don't believe for a single second that she was unaware of the shady dealings her father was involved in. As for Leo, how exactly was he good to me? Was it the way he planned to steal everything I had and leave my life in ruins, a state worse than death? I replied to her text with an airy, dismissive tone. "So, what are you trying to say?" Sophia wrote back, her words filled with the righteous indignation of someone fighting for true love against the forces of darkness. "Clara, you betrayed our friendship first. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. I am now officially declaring war on you. I'm going to steal Leo." I replied cooperatively, feigning shock. "What? Are you saying that you and Leo—" Sophia was triumphant. You don't know yet, do you? I've liked Leo for a long, long time. If it wasn't for your family's dirty money, do you really think Leo would have ever taken a liking to a fat person like you? My dad told me a long time ago, your family's orchard is in big trouble. All the fruit is going to rot on the trees soon. If your lottery ticket doesn't win either, I don't believe for a second that Leo will still refuse me just because of you. Sophia's foolishness truly astounded me. She knew perfectly well that Leo was only with me for my money, yet she still deluded herself into thinking that a person like that was capable of genuine feelings. Seeing that I hadn't replied, Sophia sent me another screenshot. In the image, she had transferred 500 yuan to Leo, telling him to find a cool coffee shop to wait in. Leo hadn't refused the money. He had clicked to receive it immediately. Sophia was gloating. See, Leo has feelings for me. You should be sensible and just back out of the picture. Phooey. Leo had feelings for money, and that was all. But at this moment, I desperately needed an excuse to leave him. I was just about to text him and officially break up when the building's security guard called me. He said that a man named Leo was causing a scene in the lobby, demanding to see me immediately. When I got down to the company entrance, I saw Leo's distraught and staggering figure. He looked terrible. When he saw me walking towards him, his voice was filled with a palpable fear. Clara, the hospital just called me. They said Isabelle, she's dead. Sophia had arrived at the hospital even before I did. Seeing my gray wig and the worn-out clothes I had put on, a flicker of smug satisfaction flashed in her eyes before she let out a cold snort. Clara, it's all your fault. It's because you weren't willing to pay the 200,000 yuan that Isabelle died. After hearing from the security guard that Leo was in a frantic state, I had specifically borrowed a faded old shirt from one of the cleaning ladies at the office. I had also quickly applied some makeup to make myself look tired and sallow. I pretended to be completely bewildered. Sophia, what are you talking about? My family's orchard is having serious problems, and I've already quit my job. I don't have any income. How could I possibly come up with 200,000 yuan? Standing there in the sterile hospital corridor, Sophia was dressed in a bright, fashionable outfit, while I looked like a woman 20 years my senior, worn down by hardship. At that moment, Leo's mother, Mrs. Vance, walked over. She didn't even give me a passing glance. Her eyes landed directly on Sophia. Are you my Leo's girlfriend? She asked. Sophia's eyes lit up. She shot me a provocative look, then grabbed Mrs. Vance's arm and said in a solicitous tone, Auntie, please accept my deepest condolences. If there's anything at all that you need, please just ask me. Leo straightened his shirt collar, a nervous gesture to cover the wrinkled, sagging skin that was now visible on his neck. All right, let's go see Isabelle first, he said, his voice strained. In the morgue, Isabelle's body lay on a cold metal table. Her eyes were sunken into her skull, and her hair was dry and brittle, like straw. We had only been apart for a single day, but her body had become withered and desiccated, as if all her life force had been violently sucked out. Mrs. Vance muttered under her breath. The doctor said her case is completely unprecedented. No one knows why this happened. They said she was recovering well from the surgery, but she woke up this morning looking like this. If you ask me, I thought, it's a good thing Isabelle died. A person like her, who repays kindness with pure ingratitude, is just a disaster waiting to happen in this world. But on the outside, I had to maintain a solemn expression. I even managed to squeeze out 2 tears, which were, in reality, tears of joy. All of this had been orchestrated by me from the beginning. When I gave the silver bracelet to the old disabled beggar, I told him that the bracelet could fulfill his deepest wish, which was to return to the age of 23. At that age, he would be young and healthy again, with a chance to start his life over. However, for a sick, amputated man in his 60s or 70s to have his age reversed so drastically, the magical backlash from such a powerful wish would be immense. It was more than enough to completely wipe out Leo and his greedy family of 3. To show off her newfound position, Sophia immediately got busy handling the arrangements for Isabelle's funeral. While she was occupied, I slipped away to a quiet corner of the hallway, where I overheard Leo and his mother arguing in hushed, frantic tones. What? You said you wished for wealth, but you clearly told me you wanted youth. You said you wanted to be with that young man you've been seeing. Oh, son, please don't be angry. Think about it. Compared to youth and money, money is what really keeps a man's heart. In my past life, I had eventually found out from Mrs. Vance herself that the so-called gifts of the bracelet, wealth, health, and youth, depended entirely on what the Vance family members craved the most at that moment. The reason Mrs. Vance had wanted youth was because she had developed a crush on a man in his 40s, but the man had a preference for younger women. After I was reborn, I had immediately found a way to infiltrate Mrs. Vance's social circle and had spent weeks subtly brainwashing her, planting the idea that money was far more reliable and powerful than fleeting youth. Leo slammed his fist hard against the wall in frustration. He was furious. No wonder the skin on my body is sagging. Was it the backlash from that stupid broken bracelet that stole my youth? Mrs. Vance saw the ashen, wrinkled skin on her son's arm and backed away from him, her eyes wide with fear. Isabelle, could she have died from the backlash of her health wish? Leo seemed to remember something. He suddenly pulled the lottery tickets he had previously treasured from his pocket and threw them hard onto the ground. To vent his rage, he stomped on them violently with his shoes, over and over again. What kind of ancestral bracelet is this? What kind of winning a billion is this? I think that bracelet is just a jinx. You should find a master to break the curse right away. Mrs. Vance's legs went weak from fear, and she collapsed to the ground. As if a thought struck her, she quickly pulled her phone from her pocket. When she saw the numbers on the screen, her lips began to tremble and her face went completely pale. It's over. It's all over. I only have 30 cents left in my bank account. I don't want to live anymore. But Leo was still not reconciled to his fate. He grabbed his mother by the collar and shook her. You old hag, I'm asking you, how can we break the curse? Mrs. Vance's eyes were vacant, her face stained with warm tears that traced paths through her aged skin. How would I know? I didn't even know for sure that the bracelet had any real effect. Everything I ever told you was just based on old family rumors and hearsay. Leo's hand went slack. He felt as if his very soul had been sucked out of his body, and he fell to the ground in utter despair. Just then, the crisp, clear sound of high heels clicking on the linoleum floor echoed down the hallway. Mrs. Vance's eyes darted around, and she looked as if she had just grabbed onto a life-saving straw. Son, didn't you say your girlfriend has money? We can rely on her. Leo frowned. Clearly, his first thought was of me. Mrs. Vance's tears turned to a cunning smile. I think your other girlfriend, the one wearing all the expensive clothes and accessories, didn't she say to find her if we needed anything? We're short on money and she has plenty of money. Isn't that a perfect match? Only then did Leo realize his mother was talking about Sophia. The despair on his face instantly eased. You're right, he said, a cold determination in his eyes. I know what to do. I thought Leo would break up with me. I never expected him to propose marriage. I looked at him in complete surprise, certain that I must have misheard him. Leo, have you lost your mind? It wasn't me who said that, however. It was Sophia. Under the guise of thanking her for her concern for Isabelle, Mrs. Vance had invited both Sophia and me to dinner. At the small table for four, Mrs. Vance smiled warmly. Oh, Clara, she said, since Isabelle is gone, I only have Leo left as my son. So I really want him to settle down early and start having children for the Vance family. After saying that, she glanced over at Sophia again. I know that you and Clara are best friends, but our family doesn't have much money to offer for a dowry. So I was hoping you could talk to her for us. Because our family can only afford to offer 8,800 yuan for the dowry. What? 8,800 win? Although I wanted nothing more than for Leo to die as far away from me as possible, the sheer audacity of him suggesting such a paltry sum made me so angry, I stood up from my chair. Sophia was also a little confused by the low number, but seeing my intense reaction, she immediately seized the opportunity to make me uncomfortable. She quickly composed herself and, seeing me upset, said with a confident smile, Auntie, please don't say that. Giving a dowry and a bride price are such outdated customs. As part of the new generation of women, we should marry for love, not for money. Saying this, she shot me a contemptuous look. Clara, your family's fruit is practically being given away for free because no one will buy it. Now you're so worried about making a living that your hair has turned white. Don't you think that you, someone who has absolutely nothing, are still worthy of a man like Leo? Hearing Sophia say that, Mrs. Vance and Leo exchanged a subtle, knowing glance. I instantly understood what was happening. Those two were using their son as a bargaining chip, trying to make Sophia and me bid against each other for him. Of course, I had no intention of falling into their trap. Otherwise, it would have been pointless for my father to pretend that our business was on the brink of failure. Sophia was jealous of my family's wealth, wasn't she? And she saw Leo as her one true love, didn't she? Fine. I would just step aside. A wise person doesn't stand in the path of danger. To deal with these two desperate people, I continued to show weakness. I clenched my fists tightly, letting my body tremble with emotion. Leo, I said, my voice thick with fake tears. Although I don't have money anymore and I'm not pretty, you are still the only one in my heart. Sophia just waved her hand dismissively. Leo, as long as you marry me, the day we get married, the house that's under my name will have your name added to the deed. And I don't need a single penny from you for a bride price. My dad promised he would buy me a brand new BMW X5, and I'll give it to you. At the table, Mrs. Vance's mouth was practically watering. Leo was desperately trying to hide the dead, wrinkled skin on his wrist, afraid that we would see it, and I could only pretend to cry hysterically as I sadly ran out of the restaurant. That very afternoon, Sophia posted pictures of her and Leo getting their marriage license. She even wrote a smug caption. Something you couldn't have when you were young will ultimately haunt you for your whole life. I'm so lucky. I reached out and finally plucked my first love. She specifically tagged me in the post, asking for my blessings. Looking at their wedding photo, I couldn't help but sigh. That's great. After all, trash should always go with trash. I replied sincerely in the comments below. Wishing you two a long and happy life together. May you be a happy couple for 100 years. Sophia immediately sent me a private message. I know you're just jealous and you're not sincerely wishing us well. I kindly reminded her, I just hope you won't be completely drained dry by that mother and son. Sophia immediately retorted, See? I told you that you were jealous and you still deny it. Don't you worry, I'll be much happier than you'll ever be. I didn't reply anymore. Good words cannot persuade a person who is determined to walk off a cliff. It was time for him to start paying back the debts he owed from his past life. In the days that followed, Leo was busy posting on his social media accounts, showing off luxury cars and expensive watches. He only ever showed his face in the pictures, and it was always covered with a thick, heavy layer of foundation. I guessed that the dead, wrinkled skin had already spread to his face. Sophia's social media, on the other hand, was completely silent. Even that triumphant wedding photo was deleted at some point. I happened to hear from a mutual acquaintance that Sophia was already suing for divorce just a few days after getting married. I sneered. No matter how wonderful a first love seems, when they start to turn into a shriveled mummy, no one can stand it. I heard that Leo stubbornly refused to grant the divorce. Mrs. Vance even resorted to threatening Jenny with private photos, saying that if she kept making trouble, she would post them all online. I heard from my dad that Mr. Rossi's new business partner, the one he had teamed up with to compete with us, turned out to be a professional fraudster. He had managed to swindle Mr. Rossi out of all his life savings and had even conned him into taking out a $1,000,000 loan from loan sharks. The fraudster then disappeared with all the money. Yes, in my past life, it was Mr. Rossi who had orchestrated the downfall of my family after carefully vetting his own business partners. But this time around, he was so eager to defeat my dad that he didn't even bother to thoroughly check his new partner's background. The two desperate people wanted to go back to their hometown and sell their old house to pay off the debts, but their old house had already been seized by the court. As for Sophia's new house, on the day of her wedding, the title had already been transferred solely into Leo's name. When Sophia went to the house again, hoping to sell it, she was unceremoniously kicked out. That day, I happened to be selling fruit from a small stall by the roadside when I saw Mrs. Vance not far away, standing on the street and cursing loudly at the sky. I saw Sophia wandering aimlessly and called out to her, holding up a bright red apple. Sophia, we were like sisters once. Take this bag of apples and have something to eat. Sophia saw me and was stunned for a moment. Seeing me wrapped in a thick scarf, rubbing my hands together, and stomping my feet in the cold wind, her own equally miserable situation finally seemed to awaken the thin, frayed thread of sisterhood that had once existed between us for over a decade. From her dim, weary eyes, tears of remorse finally began to flow, though they felt cheap and hollow. Clara, I didn't expect you to be doing so badly either. She took the apples. Clara, I was wrong. I shouldn't have listened to Leo's lies and tried to go against you. My family is ruined now. That mother and son have taken my house and my car. Whenever I manage to get a little bit of money, Leo snatches it away from me. If I don't give it to him, he hits me and kicks me. Saying this, Sophia showed me the crooked, ugly scars on her hand, and she began sobbing uncontrollably. Why am I so unlucky? When will these hard times ever end? I breathed warm air into my cold hands. Afraid she might do something drastic to herself, I moved the bag of apples closer to her. Life still has to go on, I said softly. Sophia, there's always a tomorrow. I specifically emphasized the last sentence. Sophia, who was still full of tears, seemed to realize something. She looked at me intensely. In the next second, her eyes turned fierce. She reached over, grabbed a small fruit knife from my stall, and rushed towards the cursing figure of Mrs. Vance. Ah! Only a single sharp scream was heard. Mrs. Vance fell to the ground, covered in blood. Everyone on the street scattered in panic. I sighed deeply and slowly began to pack up the rented stall. I took off my headscarf, revealing the chestnut-colored wavy hair that I had already dyed back. I let out a low whistle. A buy one, get one free deal. Leo, you're next. Ever since he had gotten his marriage certificate with Sophia, Leo, whose face was now covered in deep wrinkles like dried tree bark, didn't dare to go out in public at all. But now his mother was dead, and Sophia had been arrested and sent to jail. Creditors were showing up to smash his door every few days. Leo had no choice but to arm himself to the teeth with scarves and hats and sneak out of the house like a thief in the night. Of course, I wouldn't let him off that easily. I had already paid someone to watch his movements 24/7. As soon as he stepped outside, that person would notify the creditors. Justice will always be served. I just didn't want to indulge deadbeats. We don't do illegal and criminal things. So, at 9 o'clock that night, in a forgotten corner of the city, Leo was chased by a group of angry men all the way to a building's rooftop. "Why are you guys asking me for money?" he shrieked. "It was Sophia who borrowed the money, not me." Even now, with things as they were, Leo was still desperately clinging to the expensive watch on his wrist. Yes, because the house and the car had both been seized by the court, the luxury watch was the only remaining evidence of Leo's glorious but brief past. Sophia has already given the police all the evidence of your domestic violence, your illegal seizure of her personal property before the marriage, and your use of her identity to fraudulently take out loans, I said, stepping out from the shadows. Things had come to this point. I didn't need to hide anything anymore. I suddenly aimed the camera on my phone at my own face. "Clara, it's you. Are you here for revenge?" he gasped. I smiled at him but didn't deny it. Leo became extremely agitated. He started yelling at me. No, this must be a dream. In reality, I drive a luxury car and have endless money." The man standing beside me, one of the creditors, chuckled. "This guy has watched way too much television. He's gone crazy." Hearing the man's comment, Leo glared at me fiercely again. "The bracelet! Clara, where is the silver bracelet I gave you?" I took it out from my pocket and threw it at his feet. "Are you talking about this?" As soon as the old beggar's wish had been fulfilled, I had found a Taoist priest from Maoshan to remove the charm from the original bracelet. To be on the safe side, the priest had then melted the silver down completely. What I had just thrown to him was just a cheap fake, a silver-plated bracelet that had cost me 20 yuan. But the series of devastating blows he had suffered in recent days, combined with the inhumane torment he was currently enduring, had already caused Leo's mind to snap. Seeing the only object he believed could change his fate, Leo went completely crazy. He grabbed the fake bracelet and began to laugh and cry at the same time. Ha ha ha! I want luxury cars and beautiful women. I want endless money. I want to return to reality. And then he jumped. He jumped directly from the rooftop. Everyone looked at each other in shock. The debt collectors all looked at one another, confused. What's wrong with this guy? I hadn't even said anything to him yet, one of them muttered. I just pointed at the security camera mounted on the corner of the building above our heads. He's just having a mental breakdown. The police will clear our names. After saying that, I calmly called for an ambulance and the police. From then on, there were no more ghosts or spirits in my world, only the tangible results of effort and sweat. Epilogue. A 23-year-old girl came to apply for a job at our family's orchard. She asked me why I had helped her all those months ago. As I sat on the porch peeling an apple, I answered her casually. Do you believe in past life retribution? I once had a dream that just before I died, a homeless beggar tore off his own clothes to cover my face. So I believe he is not a bad person, and I was willing to give him a chance to make a new choice in life.